within the next hour. Let me bring in today's News Nation panel. Democratic strategist Margie Omero, nationally syndicated radio talk show host Michael Smerconish, who's also an MSNBC contributor, Lois Romano, senior political writer for Politico, and Jonathan Colegio, communications director for American Crossroads. Thank you all for joining me. Michael, I'll start off with you because I do enjoy the fact that you're able to talk to folks from around the country and get their reaction to big nights like the debate. We saw the president at this rally a couple of hours ago hitting the Romnesia line again. This time, though, he's got point after point to back that up after what we saw last night. I'm not even sure how you would categorize what happened to Mitt Romney and his smooth move or rough move to a more moderate candidate.
Well, it was a significantly different Governor Romney than we saw in primary season. In primary season, President Obama is the apologist, and we did hear that line last night. He's also the weak commander-in-chief. And yet what I found stunning last night, Tamarin, is that time and again, Syria, Egypt, Afghanistan, bin Laden, so many different things, the drones, it was essentially Governor Romney saying, yeah, me too. Yeah. I mean, there was no daylight between them. That is not the Mitt Romney who captured the GOP nomination.
And Lois, let me bring you in. I said smooth or rough move because this is all last night, at least a lot of the analysis and this morning is point of view. It is kind of one of those things of what did you want to see? You have conservatives and Republicans who said that Governor Romney did a great job. They don't see any deception or any malpractice, if you will, political malpractice in the transition he's made. When you look at some of the columns and op-eds from Democrats, they say that Governor Romney was weak. He did not have a game to bring, let alone bringing an A game on foreign policy. Are we simply at the point that no matter what happened at that debate last night, you have the pundits and the writers who have their storyline, they have their point of view, and that's what we'll see for the next 14 days?
Well, I think there's really something to that. Everybody is pretty dug in right now. But I think what you saw with Governor Romney last night was very strategic. He made a decision to go into that debate and not make waves, not have a fight with Barack Obama, not have a fight with Bob Schieffer. He is leading in the polls right now. And, you know, he wants to run out the clock a little bit. So he was not going to get... he was not going to make any kind of a mistake. And I think that's what you saw. He was also trying to appeal to those still little slice of swing voters that are out there that don't want to see a warmonger.
So I'm curious, Lois, in the first debate, the president, low energy, but nevertheless, it was seen as a debate where he was hoping perhaps to stay above the fray, do no harm, if you will. At the time, he was leading in many of the polls. How is that different? Why was he so harshly criticized? And then last night, it is clear that Governor Romney did not want to ruffle any feathers. He moved away from talking points and beliefs that he has espoused now for many, many months, even beyond the Republican primary. We're talking about even after the Republican convention, when by all accounts a candidate normally would move to positions more accommodating to independent voters.
Well, and I think the president emphasized all that. And he brought time and time again. He said, you know, you've changed your position on this, on this, on this. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying this was his strategy. I mean, the other thing that I think did come out very clear last night is that the governor did not have a very deep bench of facts. At a certain point, he really did keep repeating himself. And I think that was strategic, too. I mean, he just didn't want to get out there, get boxed in like he did last week on the Libya conversation. This was a very cautious debate, the last debate, and he just didn't want to make any errors.
Let me bring you in, Jonathan Colegio. You're the conservative, the Republican on the panel. How would you describe Mitt Romney's strategy last night?
I think it's easy to lose sight of who the audience of the debate really was for both of these guys, and it was independent voters. And if you look at the way the independent voters interpreted the results last night, Triple P had a poll, and they said that Obama, with those folks, they were less likely to want to vote for Obama afterward, and they were more likely to want to vote for Obama after. Now, you're dealing with a small sample there, but it's directional, and I think it shows the success of Romney's strategy, which was, number one, to pass that presidential bar, but then also to be talking about these economic issues as much as he could, whenever he could, because whenever the debate pivoted back to economics, he dominated. I think that was very, very clear, and we saw it over and over again throughout the debate.
Well, in one area we know that he did not dominate, and we'll play this clip a little bit later. We're talking about the auto industry. I don't think anyone thinks he dominated on that subject matter, and we know that means millions of jobs for a lot of people in states that he needs, particularly Ohio. But Jonathan, I want to bring up what Joe Scarborough had to say about Romney's move to the center and the timing of it all. Let's play it.
if Mitt Romney attacked to the center at the convention, he might find himself up considerably, even in states like Ohio.
He's saying after the convention, if this Mitt Romney had appeared, he'd be doing better in Ohio. But I want to go back to something you said about the appearance of being presidential. How is that a good appearance when you are simply following the guy who's already in office? You say he set a bar or he reached the bar. The bar was being held by the president when he is constantly saying, me too, this guy is right. Where is the complaint? Where is I can do a better job, or the direction I'd like to see our foreign policy for this country go?
Well, I think with the President of the United States, everyone gets that the President of the United States has probably been briefed literally thousands of times over the course of his presidency on foreign policy and intelligence issues. So they know that the President, in virtually every circumstance, is going to come into the debate with more information in his head and at his disposal than any challenger. So I think that that's kind of the frame that independents going into this look for. And they want to make sure that they believe that the candidate who's challenging is someone that they vote for, that they can trust, that they trust will make good decisions. And I think he cleared that bar last night, especially when he went back to those economic issues.
Let me play just a few of the items where Mitt Romney agreed with the president on things in the past. And you say that the president gets briefings, but Jonathan, you and I both know that's never stopped Republicans or Governor Romney from criticizing the president, from Syria to what to do with Iran. That's never stopped him from giving his opinions despite having or not having those briefings the president has been privy to. Let's just play a montage of the agrees moments.
As the president indicated and said at the time that I supported his action there. We had to go into Pakistan. We had to go in there to get Osama bin Laden. That was the right thing to do. It's widely reported that drones are being used in drone strikes, and I support that entirely and feel the president was right.
So, Margie, what do you describe the strategy of Governor Romney? I mean, as you heard Jonathan Colegio, other Republicans believe it was effective. Already today, it's given the president his first talking point that had the audience in Florida on their feet.
Well, I think it'd be one thing if Mitt Romney had a cooperative, collaborative style this entire campaign, but he hasn't. The truth is he has been incredibly confrontational, one, in the past few debates, and two, on foreign policy generally, where he has this reflexive opposition to everything President Obama's for. He says, I'm against it. Whatever he's for, I'm against. And he had a completely different take last night, and I think that reveals some of the vulnerabilities that Romney has generally, his willingness to really play all different sides of an issue, and two, realizing that a lot of his positions are really unpopular with a lot of swing voters, so he has to move more to the middle right here at the very end. I did watch the debate with some swing Walmart moms last night, and they did appreciate some of the more agreement, seeing some agreement and less of the combativeness between the two candidates. Ultimately, though, the polls show, the dial group I was in last night showed that that Obama won this debate. He seemed strong, he seemed confident, and Mitt Romney didn't really have anything really to add.
Well, the CNN poll who won the debate, the president 48%, a CBS poll, uncommitted voters who won the debate 53%. Michael, let me bring you back. I want to play what Senator Rob Portman said on Morning Joe when he was put on the spot about why, even though the gap is closing in Ohio, why has Mitt Romney's economic message that Jonathan Colegio was just touting, why hasn't it sealed the deal in that state that he needs?
Most people in Ohio that I've met, and I spent some time there, not nearly as much as you, really credit the president for the auto bailout and the fact that you have the Chevy Cruze being built there from seat covers all the way to assembly.
Hey, look, we're really happy in Ohio the auto industry is making a comeback, but the fact is Ohio voters are going to be really surprised when they learn that it was Barack Obama who took them through bankruptcy.
This was a big moment in the debate last night, the auto bailout. I don't know how at this point you can continue to fact check. We know the facts of what happened. We know the op-ed that was written by Governor Romney. What do you make of this, Michael? Is it a reinvention of history? Or is it to try to make bankruptcy and all of the details so complicated that some of the people who are on the fence, some of those white middle-class workers will get confused over what happened?
Yes, I think in a word it probably is, and I think it underscores how much of this race continues to hang in the balance in the Buckeye State. If the president is reelected, and if he's reelected with Ohio in his column, I think we're going to look back at this issue, Tamron, and say it was the most outcome determinative in the whole campaign.
Jonathan Colegio, let me play that exchange from the debate regarding the auto bailout between Governor Romney and the president.
I said these companies need to go through a managed bankruptcy, and in that process, they can get government help and government guarantees.
Governor Romney, that's not what you said.
Fortunately, you can take a look at the op-ed.
Governor Romney, you did not say that you would provide governor help. Governor Romney, you keep on trying to, airbrush history here.
Jonathan Colegio, is Governor Romney trying to airbrush history as it relates to the auto bailout?
I actually went back and read the op-ed last night. As this was going on, I got on my phone and looked at it. And he does say about two-thirds into the way through the article that the auto industry, the companies, could ask the government for help. So I don't know that he was necessarily totally off base. Everybody should go and read that New York Times piece. I think it's important to. But I think it's also critical to kind of get out of the bubble here. I mean, we're all talking about the foreign policy bit of this. This is all, to me, very, very eerily reminiscent in 1992 when President George H.W. Bush really wanted to be talking about foreign policy while Bill Clinton just ate his lunch on the economy. And I think we're seeing a lot of that here because every time that this went back to the economy, Mitt Romney was very, very strong.
So you believe in the auto bailout moment there last night that Governor Romney ate President Obama's lunch on the auto bailout?
In the first presidential debate, absolutely, which is all about the economy.
We're talking about last night because you're telling me that foreign policy, while important, your guys' A game is the economy. And at every opportunity in turn, both of them, quite honestly, last night tried to figure out a way to bring in the economy. The big point of the economy in Ohio is the auto bailout. There are people right now who might be on their lunch break watching who have a job because of that auto bailout. And you believe the presentation from Governor Romney last night was fact and not an airbrush in an attempt to get those folks to vote, and that he was behind this?
I think the proof is in the pudding because just today, I mean, in response to all this, just today, President Obama put out a new economic plan. Less than 2 weeks to go, we have a new economic plan that's not really new at all. It's just a bunch of recycled ideas that he's already put out over the last couple of years. So I think that they are scared on the economy, and I think that that's clear in the aftermath of the debate.
Lois, let me bring you in on this, and I don't want to harp on the auto bailout, but I think it is very important. I come from a working class family. I'm sure many of you on the panel. Michael is in Pennsylvania. This represents a lot because much of the conversation, at least from what I am hearing, are people wanting to know more from the president regarding the future, and also, do you believe in America? We've done a segment now pretty much every day on China versus Ohio, not to pit people against another country, but to say the manufacturing world has changed forever here, and there are people who will work these jobs in those factories who depend on the auto industry and will retire with their pensions, and they're watching this and they're trying to decide who was on their side.
It's very significant, and it's why Mitt Romney is not particularly competitive in his own home state of Michigan right now. The people of Ohio are very big in the auto industry, and it's why Obama has been leading, and they're paying attention to all this.
And Margie, quickly, I want to play this new ad out from the president called Determination. It brings up the auto industry, but it also brings up a point of criticism for the president. Let me play this new ad he's got out.
Our auto industry, back. And our heroes are coming home. We're not there yet, but we've made real progress. And the last thing we should do is turn back now.
Margie, should that have been the message a while ago, not Big Bird and some of these other things? I had Governor Ed Rendell on last week, and he pretty much wrote this ad for the Obama campaign. He said, this is what you need to do. You need to hit this home. But as we ask if it's too late for Governor Romney to try to become more moderate after the convention, is it too late for this message?
I think I've heard that kind of message from the Obama campaign for a while, that we're making progress, but we still have more ground to cover in the recovery. I've been hearing that for a long time from the Obama campaign. I think what's important here is not simply can Mitt Romney check the box on saying he's a moderate for the last 2 weeks. Only one candidate really has demonstrated an understanding of our shared struggle and support for the middle class, while Mitt Romney, behind closed doors, says, half of the electorate, I don't care about them because they think they're entitled to food. And that's the difference between now and 1992. You didn't have Bill Clinton saying, well, half of the electorate, I'm not concerned about them. They think they're victims. And that's really a crux of what's going on in this election.
Margie O'Mara, thank you very much. Michael, it's always a pleasure. Lois, great pleasure having you as well. And of course, Jonathan, we love having your voice. You are equal parts here. Thank you so much. Up next, during the debate, Governor